With the playoffs around the corner, I decided to put every single NHL team into the postseason, and we're going to see who's going to come out on top. I seeded the teams 1 through 32, with the number 1 seed taking on the 32, the second seed taking on the 31st, and so on. I also want to mention the standings are based off of what they were on April 8th, so a few days have passed since then, a few teams have moved up and down, but we're just going to run with these standings. And we got our first matchup being the Boston Bruins taking on the Anaheim Ducks. Of course, the Anaheim Ducks being the superior team they are, they're going to be stealing game 1 away from Boston, and then game 2, we're going to be heading into overtime. With just seconds left in overtime, Silverberg's getting a shot off, but Allmark's making the save. Comtois getting control of the rebound, and he's going to bury this one, and now Anaheim's up 2-0 in the series, because we definitely all saw that coming. And then in game 3, what's going on? Because the Anaheim Ducks are now up 3-0 in the series. The worst team in the NHL now has a chance to sweep the Boston Bruins, who just broke the win record. The simulation in this game is just absolutely elite. You got to give it up to EA. But finally, in game 4, Boston's waking up, and they're scoring 11 goals. Now it's time to make the comeback, and the Bruins keep rolling. They're potting 4 in game 5, and they're making a comeback in this series. However, it's not going to be easy as we're headed to overtime in game 6. Early into double overtime, Pasta's dishing it over to Patrice Bergeron. He's going to deflect this one in between John Gibson's legs, and now we're headed to a game 7. And in a winner-go-home game 7, Mason McTavish, with 23 seconds left in the game, he's going to be beating Allmark, and the Anaheim Ducks are going to be advancing, defeating the number 1 seed Boston Bruins. How did the Boston Bruins just lose to the Anaheim Ducks? In a single game, of course it can happen, but in a 7-game series when the best team is supposed to win? Nah, that just doesn't make any sense. But we're moving on from that, and now the Calgary Flames are taking on the New York Islanders. The Calgary Flames are going to come out flying in game 1 as they're potting 7 to take a 1-0 series lead. But in game 2, the Flames and Islanders are just exchanging goals, and now we're headed to overtime. A little over 5 minutes into our first overtime, Barzell's bringing the puck into the zone. He's going 5-hole on Jacob Markstrom, and bro didn't even attempt to drop into the butterfly. He made 0 effort to make this save whatsoever. We're in the playoffs, my guy. You gotta be doing better than that. Game 3 is going to be a similar situation as once again we're headed to overtime. But this time around in overtime, Calgary's going to be coming out on top as Backlund's going to be potting the OT winner, and now Calgary's up 2-1 in the series. The Islanders are bouncing back pretty quick from that overtime loss as they're going to even the series in game 4. But once again in game 5, the offense is just sparking for Calgary, and with them potting 6 goals, they're 1 game away from the second round. But as we know, this Islanders team, they just continue to bounce back, and now we're headed to another game 7. In game 7, it's going to be the Islanders offense that's sparking as they're going to be potting 5 goals, and now they're headed to the next round. With the Islanders advancing, they're definitely going to have their hands full in the next round as they're going to take on the Anaheim Ducks. And of course, we know this Anaheim team, well, they're just absolutely elite. They beat the Boston Bruins. I guess we can't sleep on these boys. Before we get to that though, we got the Dallas Stars taking on the Washington Capitals. Before we get into this next matchup, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 40,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and I won't be able to do that if you don't subscribe. It's free, it only takes a second, and it helps more than you can imagine. For an answer from the Dallas Stars is going to be giving them game 1, and in game 2, they're going to build on that momentum, and now they got a 2-0 series lead. But in game 3, it's not going to be as easy as we're headed to overtime. With just under 7 minutes left in overtime, Evgeny Davinov's going to recover the loose puck. He's going to rip one 5-hole on Kemper, and now the Dallas Stars are 1 game away from the next round. But I think that 5-hole goal that Kemper allowed must have sparked something. In game 4, he's going to be shutting out the Stars, and in game 5, he's doing the exact same thing. And here we are in game 6 in a 2-2 game, and we're headed to overtime once again. But it looks like Darcy Kemper can't stay on his head forever, because Mason Marchment, he's going to be deflecting this one into the back of the net, and the Dallas Stars, they're advancing to the next round. The next match we have is the Vancouver Canucks taking on the Colorado Avalanche. And shouldn't really be a surprise that Colorado's going to be taking game 1. But 8 goals? Nah, this was more than a statement game. Somehow Vancouver's able to bounce back from that devastating loss, and they're evening the series. And they're going to keep rolling. They're stealing game 3 6-2, and in game 4 they're going to put themselves 1 game away from the next round. It looks like Colorado got too comfy after that 8-1 win, because the Vancouver Canucks in game 5, they're going to shut the Colorado Avalanche down, and they're taking out the reigning Stanley Cup champs. With the Vancouver Canucks advancing, they're going to be taking on the Dallas Stars in the next round. But first we have to see who's coming out on top between the Rangers and the Arizona Coyotes. A logical person would say the New York Rangers, but this is NHL 23. And I feel like a team like Arizona is somehow going to come out on top. So the Arizona Coyotes just scored 6 goals in game 1 and only allowed 1. Because the Arizona Coyotes are just a fantastic defensive team, as we all know. Reality is going to set in game 2 as the Rangers are coming out on top. But in game 3, the Coyotes are scoring 3, and now they're up 2-1 in the series. How is this team able to compete with the Rangers? That just doesn't make sense. The Rangers keep this series close with a 3-1 win in game 4. And in game 5, we're headed to overtime as no one scored a goal yet. With 12 minutes left in overtime, Kaapo Kakko was blocking a shot from Trocheck. That's going to work out pretty well for him as he's going to score the winner, and now the Rangers have a 3-2 series lead. But as we know, the Arizona Coyotes are just a fantastic team, absolutely elite from top to bottom. And now we're headed to game 7 as they're taking game 6 4-1. And in game 7, the fantastic offense from the Arizona Coyotes is going to allow them to score 5 goals in the second period, and that's going to help them beat the New York Rangers. The Arizona Coyotes are beating the New York Rangers in a 7-game series. So we're just going to move on from that, and now we're headed to Seattle versus Ottawa, because how did that just happen? It makes no sense. Seattle and Ottawa are going back and forth in game 1, so we're headed to overtime. overtime. In overtime, Seattle's on the power play. Yanni Gourde's going to get a shot off, but Talbot's making the save. He's going to recover his own rebound, and Talbot's not going to be able to make back-to-back saves here, and Seattle's taking game 1. In game 2, Thomas Chabot's going to be saving the days. He's going to be potting one late in the game. However, Seattle's offense is waking up in game 3. Jordan Eberle's picking up the hat trick, and now Seattle's up 2-1 in the series. In game 4, the Seattle Kraken are just going to keep on rolling. They're scoring 4 goals here, and now they're 1 game away from the second round. But in order to get to the second round, they got to defeat Ottawa in overtime in game 5. However, it doesn't look like Seattle's going to be advancing yet. Brady Tkachuk's going to be dishing the puck over to Tim Stützle. Martin Jones isn't going to be able to go post to post quick enough, and Ottawa's surviving another day. But they're only going to be surviving 1 day because in game 6, Seattle's going to be closing this series out. With that win, we have another second round matchup set. The Arizona Coyotes are going to be taking on the Seattle Kraken. But we're not even halfway done the first round yet, and now we got the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo's going to come out firing to start the series, and they're stealing game 1 with 4 goals. And in game 2, they're just going to keep on rolling, and 4 goals is once again going to be enough, and they got themselves a 2-0 series lead. It looks like 4 is going to be the magic number for the Sabres, as they're scoring 4 once again, and now Tampa's pushed to the brink of elimination. But it should be no surprise, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're always going to put up a fight. They're scoring 5 in game 4, but it's going to be a tough hill to climb. And in game 5, it looks like the comeback's going to be a bit too much for Tampa Bay, as Jeff Skinner's going to be potting 2 goals, and now the Tampa Bay Lightning are eliminated, with Buffalo head to the next round. To finish off our first half of matchups, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be taking on the San Jose Sharks. Although the Sharks are going to be out shooting Vegas, Robin Leonard's going to be holding it down for them, and Vegas is coming out on top in game 1 6-3. However, in game 2, the offense for Vegas just wasn't clicking, and 2 goals is going to be enough for San Jose, and they're evening the series. In game 3 though, a late goal from Chandler Stevens is going to give Vegas the lead in the series, but San Jose is going to be responding once again, and now the series is tied at 2 games apiece. In a crucial game 5, Vegas and San Jose are going to be exchanging goals, and we're headed to overtime. Early into double overtime, Riley Smith's going to dish the puck over to Alec Martinez. He's quickly going to give it to Barbashev, who's going to be scoring the game winner, and he's putting Vegas 1 game away from the next round. In game 6, the offense is going to click for Vegas once again. They're scoring 7, and now they're off to the next round. And in the next round, they're going to have a tough matchup because they got the Buffalo Sabres, and the way the Buffalo Sabres handled the Tampa Bay Lightning, I definitely wouldn't take this team lightly. But now we got to get to the second half of our matchups, and we got the New Jersey Devils taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know what's going on in Chicago, but somehow they're taking game 1. The fact that they won 1 single game in this series blows my mind, because I was expecting this team to get absolutely blown out. And in game 2, the Chicago Blackhawks continue to compete with the New Jersey Devils, and now we're headed to overtime. Athanasiou is going to have control of the puck in the offensive zone. He's going to get a shot off. Tyler Johnson is going to recover the puck here. It's going to get lost in traffic, and somehow he's beaten the goaltender, and now Chicago's up 2 games to none. How? Okay, I can't even explain this. They're up 3-0 in this series. If the New Jersey Devils get swept to this Chicago Blackhawks team, no, I don't even know what to say about that. That's just tough. I think you have to relocate the franchise now. You got swept by the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, you didn't even take 1 game. If you lost to the team, okay, fair. I mean, anything can happen. But getting swept? No, that's tough. That's real tough. With one of the most elite teams advancing to the next round, we got to figure out who they're going to play, and we got the Winnipeg Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins to decide between. 3 unanswered from the Winnipeg Jets is going to allow them to take game 1, and in game 2, a 4-0 lead from the Winnipeg Jets is going to be enough. Although Pittsburgh's making a comeback here, it just won't be enough, and the Jets have a 2-0 series lead. And in game 3, with goals exchanged from Ehlers and Crosby, we're going to be headed to overtime. Early into the extra frame, Malkin's going to spot Crosby breaking away from his defender. He's going to go 5-hole on Halbuck, which is allowing him to score his second of the game and keeping Pittsburgh in this series. But Winnipeg, they're not going to allow Pittsburgh to get back into this. They're scoring 5 in game 4, and now they have a commanding 3-1 series lead. And that lead by Winnipeg's just going to be too much. Pittsburgh's going to fold in game 5, and Winnipeg's off to the next round. And the second round should be fairly easy for Winnipeg. They have the Chicago Blackhawks. Because if the Blackhawks are somehow able to get through multiple rounds, I don't know what I'll do. Like, I won't do anything. I'll just be incredibly surprised. It's not going to change anything in the video. I'll just be really surprised. But our next matchup we got one of the best teams in the league, the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild. Ignore St. Louis's seeding. It's incorrect. Obviously, they should be number 1, but things happen. A late push from the St. Louis Blues are going to keep them in this game, and now we're headed to overtime in game 1. And right off the draw, Torrey Krug, he's going to launch one towards the net. Braden Shen's getting the rebound, and he's going to be beating Marc-Andre Fleury. And of course, this Blues team, we already know what they can do. They're going to continue to rolling. They're taking Minnesota down in game 2, and in game 3, Minnesota's bouncing back. They're potting 3, and they're keeping themselves in a close series. Somehow, though, the St. Louis Blues are just going to keep competing with this Minnesota team. Jordan Binnington is going to be making 35 of 36 saves, and now they have a 3-1 series lead. Game 5 is going to be a close one the entire way, and now we're headed to overtime in a 3-3 tie. With 7 minutes left in the extra period, period, Jake Neighbors is going to be picking up the turnover. He's driving straight to the front of the net, and he's going to be beating Marc-Andre Fleury, which is going to allow St. Louis to advance to the next round. And who's St. Louis taking on? Well, it's either going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs or Montreal Canadiens, and more than likely Montreal, since they're the higher seed, and the higher seeds seem to win most of the time. And a massive shocker, the Montreal Canadiens are going to be defeating Toronto in game 1, because who saw that one coming? But in game 2, Toronto's going to be evening up the series in a 3-2 win. Montreal's going to stop Toronto from gaining any momentum, as they're going to be stealing game 3 away, and then in game 4 they're going to be shutting out the Maple Leafs. Luckily, Toronto was able to pot 3 in game 5, and that's enough to keep them in the series. And in game 6 they're potting 3, and now we're headed to another game 7. In game 7 though, the Leafs defense is absolutely shutting down. Montreal's going to be potting 6 goals here, and once again the higher seeds coming out on top. I haven't really looked at it yet, but how many upsets have we had in the first round? Because I feel like a majority of the time the higher seed is won, and that doesn't make any sense. That's not how it should work. However, if this next team loses, then I'll be completely speechless. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Look at the offense that Edmonton has. I refuse to believe they're going to lose to a Philadelphia Flyers team. So in game 1, Edmonton's going to score 1 goal and we're headed to overtime. Yeah, so about that offense. So I forgot one very critical point about the Edmonton Oilers. Their defense is still very mid. So Philly's going to score the OT winner and they're taking a 1-0 series lead. But luckily the offense is going to wake up in game 2. Edmonton's going to pot 4, and then in game 3 they're scoring 7, and they've got themselves a 2-1 series lead. The Edmonton Oilers continue to roll as 2 goals from McDavid is going to put Philly on the brink of elimination, but in game 5 we're going to have to head to overtime. So I have absolutely nothing to say about this goal. Carter Hart's just a clown for trying to make a double pad stack save here. Zach Hyman was literally just skating along the goal line, and that's what you decide to do. If you literally just sat in the butterfly along the goal line against the post, you would have saved this. But nah, just do that, I guess. We shouldn't really be surprised that series wasn't that entertaining, but this next one should be. The Detroit Red Wings taking on the Los Angeles Kings. The Red Wings are going to open the series up with a 2-1 win in game 1, but in game 2 they're absolutely falling apart. The LA offense is sparking and they're potting 5 to even the series. In game 3, 3 unanswered from the LA Kings is going to help them take a 2-1 series lead, but in game 4, goals from Zadina and Lucas Raymond are going to be evening the series. Game 5 has been a low scoring one, but now we're headed to overtime in a 1-1 tie. With just a couple minutes left in the first overtime, Berggren's going to have the puck poked away from him. He's going to regain control of the puck. He's going to rip one right past Korpisalo, and that's going to help Detroit take the lead in the series. But one thing we know about this LA Kings team, they're not folding easily. They're going to score 6 in game 6, and now we're headed to game 7, and it's win or go home. In game 7, the LA Kings were able to take a 3-1 series lead, and they were able to hold on to that lead for the rest of the game. Detroit would be able to score 1 more, but it's just not enough, and the Kings are advancing to the next round. Heading into our final 2 matchups, we got the Florida Panthers taking on the Nashville Predators, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. But first, we'll start with Florida and Nashville. Nashville was able to take game 1 in a 4-2 win, and in game 2, we're headed to overtime in a 3-3 tie. Just 3 minutes into overtime number 2, Anthony Duclair is going to be getting the feed. He's going to be ripping one past Saros, and that's going to allow Florida to even the series. And Florida, they're not going to be slowing down anytime soon. They're scoring 7 in game 3, and now they got themselves a 2-1 series lead. But the offense is going to stall a bit for Florida in game 4. Each team's going to be scoring 1 goal, and we're headed to overtime once again. Halfway into the extra frame, Josh Maher is going to be getting the feed. He's going to rip one towards the net. Patrick Hornquist is going to be able to get a stick on it. He's deflecting that past Saros, and now Florida's 1 game away from the next round. Although they have a 3-1 series lead, Nashville's not going to stop fighting. They're going to steal game 5 away, and here we are in game 6, and once again we're headed to overtime. However, with a minute left in overtime, Nashville's luck's going to be running out. Forsling's able to beat Saros, and now the Panthers are off to the next round. And who are they going to be taking on? Well, that's going to be either the Columbus Blue Jackets or the Carolina Hurricanes. And based on how things have gone, we know the higher seed always wins, which is kind of a dumb statement to make because in the last series, the lower seed won. Doesn't matter. Blue Jackets in 3. Doesn't look like the Blue Jackets will be winning in 3 because Carolina's going to be stealing game 1. But in game 2, Columbus is going to be responding and they're evening the series. After a high scoring first period, Laine and Roslovic are both going to be potting a goal in the 3rd period, and now Columbus is up 2 games to 1. But luckily the Hurricanes have Svechnikov. He's going to be scoring a hat trick in game 4 and he's going to even this series up. But in game 5, the higher seed Columbus Blue Jackets just continue to push and Carolina can't keep up with them, and now the Hurricanes are 1 game away from elimination. Columbus led for most of game 6, but in the 3rd period Carolina's going to be potting 2, and now we're headed to game 7. In game 7 of this matchup, the Carolina Hurricanes offense is finally waking up. They're going to score 5 and they're going to be eliminating the Columbus Blue Jackets, and if we're being completely fair, there's no reason the Columbus Blue Jackets shouldn't have made it this far. Granted, I do have injuries off and this is a healthy Columbus team. So I mean, a healthy Columbus team at 100%, I don't necessarily know if they could compete with the Carolina Hurricanes, but they definitely wouldn't make it easy on them. We finally have the first round in the books, and now it's time to enter the second, and we got us a fantastic matchup here as the Anaheim Ducks are going to be taking on the New York Islanders. I'm just going to say this now. Outside of St. Louis, I'm cheering for Anaheim because I think it would be hilarious if the 32nd seed somehow won this whole thing. Opening game 1, the Ducks are coming out flying, and they're going to be potting 4 goals to give themselves a 1-0 series lead. And in game 2, the Ducks are doubling down on that, and now they got a 2-0 series lead. Are the Anaheim Ducks really going to go on a roll here and win it? Nah. That just doesn't seem right. In game 3, it was going back and forth the entire way, and now we're headed to overtime. And early in the extra frame, Anders Lee's going to be getting a rebound off a Bo Horvat shot, and he's going to bury this one in the back of the net to keep the Islanders in the series. Islanders continue to fight back as they're going to be shutting the Ducks out in game 4, but the Ducks are going to be doing the same in game 5 as they're shutting out the Islanders, and now they're one game away from the second round. Troy Terry would pot 2 goals in the third period, but that's just not enough, and the Islanders are going to be forcing a game 7. And to make this matchup even more entertaining, game 7, overtime, who's coming out on top? In the final moments of double overtime, Troy Terry's going to be dishing it over for Toronto. He's going to put this one in the back of the net, and not only have the Anaheim Ducks won one round, but they've advanced to the third round, and they're in the Elite 8 now. How did the 32nd overall Anaheim Ducks make it to the Elite 8? I'm cheering for them to win it all at this point. If they have to beat St. Louis, I can live with it at this point. I just want to see the worst team win a Stanley Cup. Jumping into our next matchup, we got the Dallas Stars taking on the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver is going to open the series up with 5 goals in game 1, but Dallas is going to respond in game 2 as they're evening the series. In game 3, it's going to be back and forth the entire way, and now we're headed to overtime. Halfway through the first overtime, on the power play, Vancouver's entering the zone, and Connor Garland, he's just going to be ripping this one right past Ottinger. There's no way he's stopping this shot. Absolutely elite, and now Vancouver's up 2-1 in the series. And they're not stopping there. A 3-1 win in game 4 is going to give them a 3-1 lead, but Dallas, they're not going to fold yet. 5-2 in game 5, and in game 6, we're going to be headed to overtime in a 2-2 tie. In the final moments of overtime, Glendening's going to get a backhander off, but of course Demko's making the save. As he goes towards the front of the net, Demko tries to cover this puck up. It's going to go off the skate of Glendening. It's in the back of the net, and now we're headed to game 7. Now, to force game 7 on this type of goal, that's just greasy. I would have liked to say game 7 was a close one, but it really wasn't. Vancouver was dominating the entire game. They're scoring 6 goals, and now they're going to be taking on the Anaheim Ducks in the next round as Dallas is falling. Heading into our next matchup, we have the Arizona Coyotes taking on the Seattle Kraken. Seattle's going to open the scoring in game 1, and they're going to finish the scoring as they're winning at 3-1. In game 2, Seattle was down 3-1 at one point, but they're fighting all the way back to force overtime. In overtime, Geeky's going to pick up the puck behind the net. He's going to skate to the front, and he's going to find Brandon Tanev wide open. He's going to bury this one-timer, and now Seattle's even the series. But as we know, this Arizona Coyotes team, they're just built different for some reason, and Hayton's going to be potting the hat trick, and that's going to put Arizona back up once again. But that lead's not lasting long because Seattle's going to pot 5 unanswered, and now the series is even once again. With the series tied at 2 games apiece, we have a 2-2 tie, and we're headed to overtime in game 5. Halfway through the period, Matty Beniers is going to feed the puck to Sprong, who's at the top of the circle. He's going to rip this one right between all the defenders, beating the goaltender, and now Seattle's 1 win away from the third round. But to get to the third round, they're going to have to win another overtime game as Matty Beniers is forcing OT with 1 second left in the game. But things aren't going to be that easy for Seattle. Lawson Crouse is going to pick up the puck after a block shot, and he's going to be beating Martin Jones here to force a game 7. And in game 7, after a late push from the Seattle Kraken, it just won't be enough, and the Arizona Coyotes is going to be advancing to the third round, and they're entering the Elite 8. The first 3 teams to make it to the Elite 8: the Anaheim Ducks, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Arizona Coyotes. Just based off what's happening right now, the Buffalo Sabres are about to smoke the Golden Knights, and it won't even be close. Okay, that was a really bad take, and it's aging terribly already. Vegas is going to take game 1 4-1, and then they're going to double down, taking game 2 in a 1-0 victory. Buffalo's going to keep their series interesting though, as they're taking game 3 3-1, but Vegas, they're just going to keep on rolling, and now they're 1 game away from the third round. Craig Anderson's going to stand on his head in game 5 as he's going to be shutting out the Golden Knights. But in game 6, Vegas is scoring 6, and now they're off to the next round. Entering the second half of our second round matchups, we got the Chicago Blackhawks taking on the Winnipeg Jets. It should be no surprise, but the Winnipeg Jets are going to be taking down Chicago in game 1 5-2, and they're going to keep on rolling into game 2, winning 4-2. Chicago's going to be able to avoid the sweep with a 3-1 win in game 3, but Winnipeg's just too tough. They're potting 7 in game 4, and now they're 1 game away from the Elite 8. And we finally have something realistic happening in this simulation. The Winnipeg Jets are going to defeat the Chicago Blackhawks in 5 games. They're advancing to the next round. I'm actually very happy Winnipeg won because we at least get some sort of realism, because sometimes it's just really annoying to see all these unrealistic upsets. Our next matchup's going to have the St. Louis Blues taking on the Montreal Canadiens. In game 1, it's going to be back and forth the entire way, so now we're headed to overtime. After a turnover in the neutral zone, Mike Hoffman's going to get a breakaway. He's beaten Binner, and that's given Montreal game 1. In game 2, Montreal continues to find ways to beat Binner as they're potting 5, and in game 3, they're going to be scoring 5 once again, so now they've put St. Louis on the brink of elimination and the brink of getting swept. And in game 4, that's a tough way for my St. Louis Blues to go out as the Montreal Canadiens are going to be completing the clean sweep. I have no comment on this series. We're just moving to the next one, and we got the Oilers versus Kings. The offense is converting for Edmonton in game 1 as they're going to be taking it 3-1, but in game 2, it's back and forth the entire way, and now we're headed to overtime. Early in the extra frame, Zach Hyman's going to be the hero once again. He's beating Korpisalo, and he's putting Edmonton up 2 games to none. The Kings are able to avoid a 3-0 deficit with a win in game 3, but a 4-1 win in game 4 is putting Edmonton 1 game away from the next round. With all the grit the LA Kings have, they continue to fight, and they're going to stay alive in game 5, but in game 6, Edmonton's potting 6, and now they're off to the next round. In our final matchup of the second round, we have the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Florida Panthers. A 3-0 lead for Carolina is going to be too much to overcome for Florida as they're stealing game 1. And then in game 2, Carolina is going to continue to roll and they're taking that one 4-2 as well. It looks like Florida can't compete with the Carolina Hurricanes whatsoever. They're taking game 3 3-2, and now Florida's pushed to the brink of elimination. In game 4, Bobrovsky's shot's going to keep the Florida Panthers alive for another day, and then 5 goals from the Panthers in game 5 is keeping this series interesting. A late goal from Jesse Puljujarvi in game 6 is going to be forcing overtime. In the final seconds of double overtime, Kotkaniemi's getting the feed. He's going to be able to beat Bobrovsky, and he's going to allow the Carolina Hurricanes to enter the Elite 8. So here we are in the Elite 8. We're down to the last 8 teams, and I think there's about 5 teams that probably shouldn't be here because some of these teams are clearly not like the others. So let's get to our most elite matchup. Of course, the 2 best teams here, the Anaheim Ducks taking on the Vancouver Canucks. Luckily, these 2 teams are going to keep things interesting as we're headed to overtime in game 1. I feel like this has happened before. Troy Terry's going to be stealing the puck from Pettersson. He's going to get a shot off, but Toronto's going to pick up the rebound and he's going to bury the OT winner. This is his second OT winner of the video so far. This guy just seems to always be in the right place at the right time. But it looks like one overtime game isn't enough for this series because we're headed back to overtime once again in game 2. But it looks like this time around, Vancouver's coming out on top. OEL is going to be dishing it over to Dries. He's going to be able to beat John Gibson, and we got this series tied back up at 1 apiece. Game 3 is not going to be headed to overtime as Anaheim's going to be picking up 4 to take a 2-1 series lead. But they're not going to be able to build on that momentum because Vancouver's going to be potting 5 and they've evened this series up once again. Game 5 is going to be a low scoring one, but 2 goals from Anaheim's going to be enough, and now they're 1 game away from the final 4. But it's going to take more than one more game because this game's going to be back and forth the entire way. Vancouver's coming on top 5-4, and we're headed to game 7 once again. And how are we going to make game 7 more interesting? Overtime once again, of course. It's not going to take long before we found the winner in overtime. The puck's going to be bouncing around in front of Demko. Troy Terry's going to be able to gain control of it, and with Demko out of position, it's an easy goal for Terry, and the Anaheim Ducks have now reached the final 4. The Anaheim Ducks have reached the final 4. They've beat the Bruins, Islanders, and Vancouver Canucks now. I've jumped on the bandwagon. We're rolling with the Ducks. In this next series though, I'm cheering for Arizona with the pure reason of I believe Anaheim will have a better chance of beating Arizona than Vegas, and I think everyone would agree with that logic. Robin Leonard's going to be starting this series off with a shutout, but in game 2, Arizona's actually going to be shutting Vegas out, and they're keeping this tied up. 2 late goals from the Arizona Coyotes in game 3 are going to help them take a 2-1 series lead, but in game 4, we're headed to overtime as this game's been going back and forth the entire way. Some fantastic puck moving from the Vegas Golden Knights is going to give William Karlsson an amazing opportunity, and with the goaltender out of position here, he's evening up the series. Although we just finished 1 OT game, we're heading into another in game 5 as this game's tied up 2-2. Vegas continues to find ways to win games in overtime, and this time Braden McNabb's going to be the overtime hero, and in game 6, Vegas is going to close this one up. They're going to be shutting out the Coyotes once again, and they've entered the final 4 now. So the Anaheim Ducks, they're going to have their hands full as they got the Vegas Golden Knights to take on in the final 4. Now we know what the top half of our bracket's looking like. Let's figure out the bottom half as we got the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Montreal Canadiens. The scoring for Winnipeg's never slowing down as they're scoring 6 in game 1 to open the series. Nah, seriously, what's going on with Winnipeg's scoring? I swear they're averaging 5 goals per game right now. Like, this is beyond ridiculous. They're stealing game 2, but real talk, what's going on here? Of course, we know Winnipeg's going to be scoring at least 4 goals, but Montreal's doing the same, and now we're headed to overtime. In overtime, it's only fitting for Winnipeg to be coming out on top in this game because they need to score 5 goals in order to win this one, and that's exactly what's happening, and now they got a 3-0 series lead. In game 4, it looks like Montreal didn't even have a chance as Winnipeg's going to be completing the sweep over them. So in 4 games, this team scored 20 goals. Literally averaged 5 goals per game in a 4-game series. I don't know what's going on with this Winnipeg team, but no one seems to be able to stop them. Now we know Winnipeg's entering the final 4. It's time to figure out our final matchup. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Whoever comes out of this matchup's taking on the Jets. 3 unanswered from the Carolina Hurricanes is going to help them take game 1, but 3 goals is actually going to be enough in game 2, so they got a 2-0 series lead now. It looks like the offense at Edmonton is just completely dried up because 2 goals is going to be enough for Carolina, and now they have a 3-0 series lead. But in game 4, we're going back and forth, and now we got some overtime to watch. This time around in overtime, Zach Hyman's not going to be able to be the hero for Edmonton as Martin Necas is going to be able to end this one with a backhander, and he's helping Carolina complete the sweep over the Edmonton Oilers. So now we've seen back-to-back sweeps, we've entered the final 4, and here are our teams remaining. Of course, the Anaheim Ducks, the most elite team here, they got to take on the Vegas Golden Knights, while the Winnipeg Jets, they're going to have their hands full with the Carolina Hurricanes. First, we're going to start with the Ducks and Golden Knights series, and what a way to start this one off. Basically where we just left off, we're headed to overtime in game 1. 5 minutes into double overtime, Ryan Strom's got the puck and he's driving straight towards the front of the net. The defenseman's too worried about the player sitting back door, so that's going to allow Strome to go short side on Robin Leonard, and he's given Anaheim game 1. Vegas is able to wake up in game 2 though, because they're going to be stealing that one to even the series, and in game 3 they're going to continue to roll, taking that one 3-1. In game 4, Phil the Thrill is going to score what turns out to be the game winner, and that's going to put Vegas one game away from the Stanley Cup final, while the Anaheim Ducks, they're one game away from elimination. Game 5 is a very interesting one because we're headed to overtime, even though every single goal was scored in the first period. There was 6 goals in the first period, but nothing after that. 6 minutes into overtime, Riley Smith's going to find the loose puck, and he's going to dish that over to Barbashev. The defense on Anaheim is going to leave Barbashev wide open, and that's going to allow him to cook. He's beaten John Gibson. He's winning the series for Vegas, and now they're headed to the Stanley Cup final, while the Anaheim Ducks, sadly, they're falling in the final 4. It's a sad day to see the Anaheim Ducks fall like that. They went on such a great run, and now we got the Winnipeg Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes to watch. Winnipeg's going to start the series off with a shutout, and in game 2, we're headed to overtime in a 3-3 tie. With 5 minutes left in overtime, the puck's going to be held against the boards. Stahl's going to be able to get the puck free, and he's going to find Nason driving towards the front of the net. He's dishing that over to him. It's an easy one-timer, and Carolina's evening up this series. But the series isn't going to be even for too long, as Winnipeg's taking a 2-1 lead in game 3, and then in game 4, the high-powered offense of Winnipeg continues. They're going to score 5 goals, and now they're one game away from the Stanley Cup final. And in game 5, that's where Winnipeg's headed. They're coming out on top 3-1, and we've got our matchup now. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Honestly, I don't think anyone can stop this Winnipeg team right now. They're scoring 5 goals a game. No one seems to be able to shut them down. But if the offense does slow down for some reason, then it's wraps for them. It's going to be a close game 1 between the two teams, so we're headed to overtime. With 3 minutes left in the extra frame, Winnipeg's on the power play. The puck's going to head over to Perfetti, but he's going to quickly pass that one over to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's going to be burying the winner, and Winnipeg's taking game 1. Perfetti's also going to be playing an important part in game 2, as he's going to end up scoring the game winner, and now the Jets are up 2-0. We should know by now, Vegas isn't going to fold, though. They're scoring 5 goals in game 3 to keep this series close, but Winnipeg's scoring 4 in game 4, and this might be wraps for the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is able to survive another day in game 5, as they're going to be scoring 5 goals, and in game 6 they're able to shut out the elite offense of Winnipeg, and now we're headed to game 7, Stanley Cup final. Hopefully we have ourselves a good matchup. Yeah, so the Winnipeg Jets are scoring 8 goals. I can't even explain this. The Winnipeg Jets go on to win the Stanley Cup with 32 teams in the entire league. Why was this team scoring so much? The Winnipeg Jets currently average 3 goals a game, which puts them 22nd in the entire league. How did this team just average like 7 goals per game in the playoffs? They seem to have 5-goal games every other night. I guess you can't question it because it's EA simulation, and that's always right.